director of marketing for Racetech. I've been there for about 8 years now. And a little background on myself, I grew up racing motocross since I was 6, and I'm a little older than that now. And raced my whole life, did the whole like amateur nationals thing and all that stuff for the motocross side, and had a pro license for a couple of years. So I've kind of been through everything on that side. But yes, I'm working a real job because the racing thing was not going to be my career. But luckily, relationships from that, which is what we're going to talk about today, a lot about is relationships with companies and industry people and things along those lines. That's led me to the position I'm in now, and so I still get to be around the sport, and I really, really enjoy it. Prior to Racetech, I used my racing experience actually and had a job with THQ designing MX versus ATV video games, and I did that for about 5 years. So that's kind of what transitioned into a marketing role, was working with riders and industry companies there to promote our product and get them involved within the titles and such. So a lot of my marketing experience was kind of by accident and a lot of trial and error. And I was lucky enough that my boss now at Racetech was my suspension tuner when I was racing, and brought that relationship to Racetech. So those relationships are obviously super important, and we're going to talk about how to build those and such. As far as who's Racetech, if you're not familiar, it's a motorcycle suspension company. We also do engines and such as well. And a lot of what we do is sell product to other suspension tuners. And so a big part of my job is actually working with what people would consider our competition, but to sell them product and promote product to them, and so they can run their business and such. The cool thing about the company, and you see it a lot in the industry, is it's a very family-oriented feel. And something that's really important to know is, like, when we go to look to hire people, it's not so much what you know. We hire on personalities. You can teach skills as far as anything in the workplace, but you can't teach being a good person. So that's something that I want you guys to take away with you, is making sure that you're being a good person, being motivated, working hard. All that stuff is extremely important. So what we're going to talk about today is, first of all, having a professional image and what that means. And then also utilizing social media to build a brand. And when I say build a brand, it's not necessarily as a company, but you looking at yourself as a racer or a rider, or athlete, or whatnot, as a brand, and representing yourself that way. And that's how you can build relationships and sponsorships and get more support so that you can go further. Or, so like I said, with my situation, was those relationships led me to a career. And then also just how to network within the industry, how to approach people, talk to them, and make a good impression and be memorable as well for the right reasons. So we're going to start with a professional image and what that means. And by the way, anyone that wants to ask, I am watching chat if you have questions as we go through things, or if you want me to repeat anything, definitely let me know.
Chris, did you have a slide? Do you need me to help you with any of that slideshow or share with anything?
We're good right now.
Okay,
nope.
Just making sure.
I'm just looking at my outline on my phone here as I go through stuff. So one of the things, so what is a professional image and how do you represent yourself and such? You never know who's watching and where they're watching, right? Just, you know, I see it a lot on the racing side. Like a lot of the industry is around, say, for the guys that have been to Loretta Lynn's, like top 10, and they're upset when they get off the track. Like, I understand it. I'm a very competitive person myself, but you have a lot of eyes on you, and how you act in that moment is memorable. So make sure that you're paying attention. You are, you know, maybe you're in town at the store, and before you go to the racetrack or the gas station or something, you never know who's there watching and who they know and whatnot. And that can definitely affect you positively or negatively, depending on what you do. So just always be conscious of, even when you don't think anyone's watching, somebody's bound to see it. So always have that professional image and represent yourself and your brand the way that you want to be remembered. Also, that could be the first impression, and first impressions go a really long time, a long ways. And it might have been just you had a bad day, but that's what you might be known as with. So make sure that, again, always be on top of it. And that's also the people that you surround yourself with as well. And whether it's your family or the crew of people that you bring with you or your friends, they are representing you as well. And so you have to remember that and surround yourself with positive people. And if you're dealing with your family and they're getting out of line, it's okay to talk to them about it and explain to them, like, hey, this is me and where I want to do and where I want to go in the future. And that's not how you want to be known, you know, if they're doing something that's not positive. Manners go a long ways, pleases and thank yous. It's pretty basic, but a lot of times that stuff gets forgotten. And again, you're trying to make an impression of who you are and be remembered for the right reasons. Let's see. And then that also means when you're at an event, you don't know who's driving by or walking by. So make sure your stuff's clean and organized and take care of your stuff. Don't come off the track and throw your helmet on the ground. You know, stuff like that shows that you appreciate and value your stuff and your things and you're taking care of it. And that's the people that me as a company that I want to work with, are those people that are being respectful and responsible and taking care of their things and appreciate their things. Something that I see a lot of is excuses. And sometimes it's not even, you don't even realize that it's an excuse, it's an explanation, is what people tend to think that they're doing anyways. A good example is when we work Loretta's, it's the joke between myself and Wyatt, who we work with, is, you know, we have 100 riders there, and within the first day of racing, like 40 of them will come by and they all say they had 38 gate pick, but a lot of them were in the same class. So it's like, okay, it's not really real. And that's okay. Like, I understand that it does affect you and whatnot. And what you think is a reason, a lot of times, like, we look at it as, well, it's an excuse, but results aren't everything. I know as a competitor, that's your goal, and we want to help you reach your goals. But there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today that's way more important than results. Remember, we're running a business, and so results don't necessarily sell product. They can help. They can help prove a product. And again, we want to help you do well, but they're not everything. So we'll talk into that more. And also just being, along with the excuses thing, just be a positive person, because you got to remember, we're all there, and when we're there as an industry person, like, we're there to work. It's a job. Yes, I enjoy my job a lot. It's a lot of fun. But having positive people around is super important, and those are the people that I want to be around. I'm more than happy to help somebody if they're being positive. It's a lot easier. Makes my job a lot more fun. And again, I have a lot of different racers, and the ones that I attach myself to the most personally are positive people. And also something to remember when dealing with companies and such is to never burn bridges, because you never know when you're going to work with somebody again. People move around in jobs a lot. If you get to a spot where you're riding for race teams and sponsorships, sometimes you don't get to choose who you work with, and that person that you were not very nice to at one point could be the one that you have to work with now. I'm here today with Tasha and Andrea, who have helped both of their kids. We have great relationships, and neither of them currently ride for me anymore, but that's okay. We're still very close and very good people, and I still care about them a lot. And that's where you leave and do things the right way. I love you, Jordan. I see that. So always just remember to positive professional image. You never know who's watching, and don't burn bridges ever. So moving on to what's a rider that I want to work with, right? Like that's how you want to be when you approach somebody in the industry, is you want to be the guy that people want to help. The first thing I could say, it's very simple, is don't be a headache. And I know that sounds crazy, but because you need something and you want something, but allow the people that are helping you to help you, and trust them to do their job properly, and be respectful and appreciative of it. And realize that there's a lot of riders out there. When we're picking guys to work with and whatnot, we don't have to work, we don't have to sponsor you. We don't have to. And you have to look at it as we're helping you and we're doing you a favor. And so be respectful that, like, there's 40 other people that I could pick instead of you. So don't take it for granted if you're the one that we choose. So just remember that and appreciate it. And you want to be the one that we pick. That's the important part. You want to stand out in a good way and make a positive impression. And a lot of times that comes down to walking up to someone and introducing yourself and shaking hands and making yourself known. Again, it's when a sponsor's at an event, and I encourage you to go see your sponsors, or even if they're not your sponsor yet, but it's a company that you want to work with, go introduce yourself and don't be shy about it. That's what we're there for as brands and companies, is to meet you guys and to help you guys. You have to start a relationship somewhere, and the more personal relationship you have, the more help you can get. I'll use the Jordan example again, just because I've worked with him and I see him sitting there. Because we had that personal relationship, he needed a gear deal, and I don't sell gear, but I knew somebody that wanted a youth rider, and so I was able to make that connection for him just because we had the personal relationship. And that's what sponsors can do for you. It's a small industry of people, and all of our sports are pretty small, right? So relationships go a really, really, really long ways. Remember that a sponsorship isn't just putting a sticker on your bike and then that's it, and you get a discount on a product, or you get free product, or whatever it is. There's a whole other side of it that is really, really important. And the best way to make an impression with a sponsor is actually sell product for them. You have to go out of your way to talk to people about why you're using companies that you're using. And that's why don't get sponsored by someone just because it's the best deal. Get sponsored by somebody that you believe in their products and the people that you're with, so that you can talk about it and tell your friends about it and believe in it. It's real at that point. Results alone don't sell product. They just don't. What does sell product is word of mouth, talking to people. Social media can, and we're going to get into that and using it as a tool here very shortly. But the best way to get noticed by a company, I can promise, is when you tell somebody to call us and get something done and they mention your name as the reason that they're there. The people that I hear their names over and over and over again, they get really good support, and it doesn't mean that they get the best results. They just sell a lot of products. So that's what sponsorship is for. We're not out there. Yes, we like racing and we want to help people, but it's still a business, and we have to make money somewhere along the line, or we can't help you. So how do you use social media to be a tool and not just a place to spend time and show cool pictures and whatnot? I'm gonna mainly focus on the Instagram thing because it's pretty popular right now, and it's probably the most important piece. Remember to look at yourself as a brand, and that's how you use social media as a tool. If you're putting out content that's let's say not professional, it's damaging your brand, because you remember that you always don't know who's watching, and once it's there, that's the impression that you're making. A lot of times that is your impression of a sponsor because you don't see them very often, right? You don't see these companies all that often for the most part. You know, maybe a few times a year. So what they do see is your social media. And so how do you use that to get noticed and whatnot? I actually want to pull up, I'm going to share my screen here for a second to go along with this. Let's see. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Jeff Walker. He's a privateer from Florida, Michigan, but now lives in Florida. So he does okay. I score some points outdoors here and there. Like, it's definitely strong, but he has a ton of support, and he's very, very good for us as a brand. And the reason being is social media and making YouTube videos. So he documents his privateer journeys on videos, and it's made him very popular and very valuable as a company. So I wanted to show just his profile and how he's representing stuff, because there are a few really cool things about it. One is the quality of the photos that you're posting. If you don't have a good photo, don't post it. It's not clean. And again, you're a brand, you want to be professional. So make sure you're posting good quality stuff. I really like the shot of the engine just because it's something different other than just riding dirt bikes. But if I scroll through. So this is actually really cool because one of the things I wanted to talk about was there's a lot of, let's see, I'm gonna move this out of the way here. There's a lot of people that the trend is just, I list all my sponsors on Instagram. Let's see if I can get this to scroll up. There we go. And the fact of the matter is I think he actually even might, no, he doesn't do it in this post, but it's pretty common of just a list of sponsors. Nobody's clicking on anything through that list of sponsors at the end of your Instagram post. Is it okay to do it? Yes, but realize that there's not really a lot of value in that. What there is a lot of value in is a personal testimonial and actually taking the time to properly, genuinely thank somebody or point something out. So I picked this up. This was Jeff's post about getting some suspension stuff. Very cool photo with it showcased, and real thank you. It's genuine. It's real. It's not just a list of sponsors. And so you hear it in podium interviews all the time, right? Like guys that are just literally reading the pit board of sponsors. It's like, what good does that do other than someone heard their name on TV? It's not valuable and genuine versus when you tell a story with what you're doing. So that was a really strong post there. So rather than just listing your sponsors, take the time, say once a week, to post something about a different company that's helping you. But give them their own post and their own spotlight. That one post is worth way more than, that one post is worth more than say 10 posts just tagging them and everything, it doesn't do, there's no value in that really. Let's see. Also on social medias, don't be scared to have, yes.
Sorry to interrupt. I just didn't want you to miss this question. Larry asked, are Insta stories just as good?
Insta stories are really good. The only thing about that is they don't stay, right? So when you're with a brand, is yes, it's really valuable in the moment because you do get a lot more eyes on it, because the way that the news feeds filter through and stuff, you see more people will see your story. The only problem with that is as a sponsor. So if I go on our company Instagram, I'll have probably 50 or 60 stories a day that were mentioned in, and if I don't see it, then it's gone, because I don't necessarily get in there and go through watch all of them at once. Whereas a post stays forever, so that because you want to make sure that the company sees that you're doing this as well. But yes, there's a lot of value in driving product for it. So I would make sure that you do both. I would definitely make sure to do both. If you're going to do the story route, which I think the story route is very valuable. And again, if that's you're doing your job is promoting your sponsors, and that's a way to do it. but also I want you to get the value out of it, making sure that your sponsor sees that you're doing that. So going along with that is have personality as well. Don't be scared to show that. Like you don't want your social media to just be a page of advertising for your sponsors. Like you actually want to show who you are and what you do for fun and having personality and that side of things is super important, because again, you don't want to just be a robot and boring either. And you want people to know who you are and you want to tell your story of who you are as a person, which is building your brand. And also, along with what we said with being professional, remember somebody is always watching. And so anything you're putting out, make sure that it's something that you would want a sponsor to see. And when they're looking at you, and because you're advertising yourself. Let's see. Another thing that I wanted to point out is, so I talked about the list of sponsors. Also, when you look at your social media, you only see, I think it's like the latest probably 50 or 60 things, whatever it is, and then it falls off. Well, we get a lot of likes on photos as brands because they're big followings, right? So if you have a mention, a lot of times we don't even see it. But what you can always see is a tag. So although it's not as in front of people, I'd make sure that you're tagging your companies in your posts, so that makes them see that they're out there and that sort of things. There's a big difference there. Going through some do's and do nots. The one thing that's really important is be genuine, be real. That was that post I was showing with Jeff. It was real. He truthfully believes in it. He backed it up, and it was his own words. It wasn't an ad. So make sure that you're being yourself and not being fake or trying to be somebody else that you're not. I have a note of do not, juvenile behavior. Don't post a video of you egging a house or something like that, or TPing something or anything like that. I mean, again, you're representing yourself and your brand and how you want to be known. So again, always think before you post. And another thing that I see a lot of is me scrolling through, and there's somebody that we support and they're using a competing product or something like that, or they'll tag a gear sponsor in there and they're wearing a different brand of gear in the photos, and it's like you're doing more damage than good. So make sure that you're properly representing the companies that are helping you in anything that you're posting. And that's really important. And I can promise that it stands out and it does get noticed. I pay a lot of attention to that stuff. It's part of my job. But at the same point, so use the proper products and then also showcase them. You can have a really cool, I'm a suspension company. We have a fork sticker on bikes. So post a cool picture of you in a corner with a good angle of the sticker, and then that's the thank you post for us. Or when you get the products in the mail, like you get a new set of gear from a gear company or helmet sponsor or something, post a picture of the stuff as you open it. Like it's a perfect opportunity to thank a company when you have those opportunities to do that. And it only takes a minute to do that. So showcase your sponsors. And like I said, make sure you're putting up stuff besides just the sponsorship stuff though. Because otherwise your page just becomes a spam page, and that's, you want to have some personality. You want to show your life and also show your skills, what you're good at and whatnot as well. So that's a lot on social media stuff. I know that a part of the reason that we wanted to do this was to talk about networking within the industry and sponsors and such. And I gave the example earlier about the gear sponsor, and that's why that stuff's important. Again, in my example, it got me a career and a job. It also can get you potential support and sponsorships and such. So let's see. Just wanted to make sure that I had the chat back open. So as you meet people, then it gives you an opportunity to, maybe there's a company or a product that they really, really like. but you don't know anyone there yet. You don't have any support from them. Well, how do you get support? Well, it could easily start with a handshake and a hello, or an email or a phone call. And there's a proper way to do that. And that's what I kind of want to talk about as well is, it's okay to make your intro of going up and saying, I enjoy your product. It works. Or I wanted to introduce myself and say thank you because I like using your stuff. That's a good way to do it. I wouldn't go and just immediately start asking for something. That's not the first impression that you want. It's again being genuine and respectful and appreciating it as, hey, I really like your product. I wanted to introduce myself and say thank you, and I'd like to build a relationship. That's okay. That's a good way to go. Versus, hey, can I get a deal on this? That doesn't go over very well. I can promise that immediately it puts a bad taste in my mouth when that happens, and it starts that way. Again, always being professional. Make sure you're walking up. So you're going to an event and you want to go meet a company and a sponsor, or a potential sponsor. Make sure that when you go up, you look them in the eyes and you give them a handshake and introduce who you are. And as you start to see the same people over and over and over again, you'll get comfortable with them. But remember also that you want to introduce yourself each time, or give them a little background each time, because while you only have a couple of companies that you're talking to, you got to remember that as a company, we have 100 to 200 people at an event. And it's not that we don't remember you, but we don't remember you because there's so many people. It's not that we don't want to. So the most awkward conversation for me as a person in industry is when someone comes up and they're very familiar with myself, but I don't know who they are. And it's not out of disrespect. I just don't remember. And so give us something to remember who you are from. And understand that it's that way. It's okay, because you don't want to put somebody in an awkward situation. And as you start to see them more and more, you will build the relationship to where they will definitely remember, and you want to be memorable. That's part of what we're talking about. Always remember too is, if you do meet someone at an event, get their business card and follow up with an email afterwards, and just say, hey, it was a pleasure to meet you, so that they have your contact info. And it's also it's another impression so that you become memorable. And just say, hey, it was great to meet you. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Or, if they helped you with something or you bought some product, let them know how it worked, that side of things. So follow up, make sure you follow up. But like I said, I wouldn't limit it to just the people that you currently are sponsored by. I would recommend meeting as many people as you can, because again, it's a small industry. People move around a lot. And also it opens doors of opportunities in the future, perhaps. I mean, I even make it a part of my goal at events and stuff is I go talk to our competitors all the time. You'll watch it, and I'll walk over and go under their tents, and it's a lot more fun to do business with people that you like. And yes, we're competing companies, but it doesn't mean we're competing people. Doesn't mean they're bad people, and doesn't mean we're bad people. We're doing our jobs, and we're going to do them the best that we can. But and that's another thing I would like to mention actually is, don't talk bad about stuff that you don't use necessarily, because again, you never know who's going to find out, where they're going to end up, and it goes along with being positive. It's really important to us. It was one of the first things that I was told when I started my job was, we won't talk bad about our competitors. And honestly, a lot of them do great work, so it's a lot more fun, again, to be at the events. And most people at the races, they start to do it for fun, right? Like, that's why we get into this. Now, a lot of you are, I'm sure, taking it to another level where it's more serious, but it still has to be fun. And so keep it fun, but it's a lot more fun if you keep it positive. So definitely meet as many people as you can. Even if you don't use their product, it's okay to have a name and a face and say hello. And a lot of times you can say thank you for being here and just supporting everybody at the event. That's a good way to meet people, talk to them. That's a good opening kind of line and sentence is just thank you for being here. So start by coming up when you go to talk to someone, look them in the eyes, firm handshake, introduce yourself, and like I said, give a brief background of who you are, where you're from, you know, stuff like that, what you ride, if you're a racer or whatnot. Also, when you go over, make sure that you make your initiative clear of why you're there. If you're going to purchase product, then say, hey, I'm looking to get this product. And again, don't ask for a deal on it. Just, I need to get it. And then hopefully you'll make a good impression and they'll help you. And if they don't, then that's where the follow-up comes in, and then say, hey, can I send you a resume? Okay, that's a good way to end it. So if you're there to build a relationship, then say, hey, I just wanted to put a face with the name. I wanted you to know who I was. I'm here competing this week, and I'd like you to keep, you know, can you keep an eye on me? You know, it's also okay to say, so can I send you a resume, or do you guys have any support programs available? Stuff like that those are good questions and okay to ask. But don't make that the main goal of I'm trying to get something. And also ask about the brand and the product and who they are as people and what their goals are, and so that you understand the company. So then that's how you can represent them and sell the product better. If you understand what they're doing and how this stuff works, or how they sell their product, because if they can sell it to you, then you can sell it to somebody else. So don't be afraid to ask questions and learn. And then, like I said, always end with a thank you. And feel free to also tell them, hey, can you follow me on social media? That's your brand. You're building a brand there. So when you approach them, say, hey, would you keep an eye on me there? So it also can come when you send a follow-up email afterwards, which I said was super important. Send a resume if that's appropriate, but always follow up with the email, because that gives that second impression of, one, you took the time because you care, and two, for me as a company, it helps me remember who you are and that I spoke to you. And the more times I see your name, the better, because then that's how I remember you. And if it's a longer event where there's multiple days and stuff, don't be afraid to stop by a couple times throughout the event and make sure that they're familiar with your face and hearing your name. And again, when you're doing this, even if your results aren't good, I have it happen a lot. Guys they'll hide if their results aren't good. I'm here to help you get good results, but I really don't care about them. And when I say that, it doesn't mean I don't want to see you. I'm not mad about it. Like most people that are working in the industry they've been around racing or raced or competed, and so they understand that there's such thing as bad days, and it's okay. I'd still rather see you, but also don't come with excuses. Come with, hey, just this is how things are going. You know, it's fine. And don't be scared to ask for help. Also, if you need something, I'm in a business of suspension, which we often can help. It's okay. Like, don't ever be afraid to go to a company and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, and can we help make it better? No matter what it is, it's okay that you don't have, it's okay to say the product's not working properly, whatever it is. If you go about it professionally and right and correct. If you come over complaining and saying that your motorcycle is terrible and it's unrideable and that's why your results are terrible, that's not the way to do it. Don't do that. But if you come over and say, hey, I think that we can make this a little better, it's not working, the way that we want it to, and then I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions on suspension wise of, okay, how can we make it better? This is what it's doing, how to understand it and such. So I know a lot of people are afraid of, well, they're going to be mad if I tell them that it doesn't work. Well, actually, I'd be bummed if you didn't have something that was not working and you didn't let us help fix it. And that goes with anything. I mean, I had it happen actually when I was racing with one of my apparel company sponsors. Was the stitching would always tear in the same exact spot. And when they were like, that's why we have support guys, because they actually fix the product. And if I, hadn't gone out of the way, I wasn't putting the product down. I was just saying, hey, I wanted to make sure you're aware of this. And what that allows them to do is to help their customers, at the end of the day, and the other people that are buying the product, they got a better product out of it. They were able to fix it. And I mean, we do that a lot of, we look at our business a lot of times on the sponsorship side as part of our R&D program and making stuff better for our customers and our consumers. So yeah, never be afraid to say that something's not working or not proper. Like, you're not going to offend anybody if you go about it properly and professionally and respectfully. There's a right and a wrong way to do it, though, for sure. Let's see. So the biggest things that I would want everybody to take away from this is to build yourself as a brand, professional image, and I want you to stand out from the crowd. So find what you're good at, how you can stand out. And once you stand out, make sure you stand out for the right reasons. Don't be the one throwing things after the race and whatnot. It's okay to be upset. I don't mind passion ever, but do it properly. And you can strengthen your brand as a person with relationships. Like I said, networking is super important. It's the industry's small, so you meet one person from one company and they're going to pass along stuff as well to other companies, and your brand gets stronger with the more relationships you have. Don't be afraid to ask for help and be positive. That's pretty much it. Does anyone have any questions that I can help with, or did I strike any ideas that you'd like to talk about? Anything a little further?
Gosh, I thought all those points were so important for, our students that are out there. And I made some notes so that I can follow up on it. We have a closed Facebook page for our families. So for those who didn't make it, we always save the recording, but you brought up so many good points. I hope that students, if you have any questions for Chris, this is a great opportunity. There's no such thing as bad questions. So you should be comfortable in just asking him anything, because he's been right where you are. He's put his leg over the bike at Loretta's many times. So feel free. Oh, we got a question from Jason.
I see your question. Are grades in school important? Yes, again, it goes along with somebody's always watching, right? I can tell you that good grades never hurt. I can't say that everybody cares, but I definitely do. I actually had a funny one recently. I work with Chris Kiefer on a marketing side of things a lot. He's a test rider. And I approached him about doing some suspension for his son, who's, I think, 13 or 14. And he's like, well, actually, he's grounded from his motorcycle right now because his grades are bad. So I built him a special contract for his kid that said I'd do suspension for him once he got his grades up. And there was a bunch of stuff in there. So we care. And also remember, there's only a handful of people that make it in the sport as far as competing. And then there's the whole other side of, again, like where I'm at, I have a career now because of it. And it's because of an education and a background as well that was important to make that transition. So absolutely important. And you're all here for a reason, right? Because you're taking your school seriously. And there's actually, that goes along with even the social media thing. Spelling and grammar is important. Again, it's one of those things that it might not matter to everybody, but it does matter to some people. And I can tell you that I've watched even brands, they put stuff out that without capitalization and with spelling errors and such. And it just, to me, it looks like, well, you don't take the time to do this properly, then what else aren't you doing properly? So you always want to put your best foot forward to represent yourself as popular or as well as possible. So take the time to do it. How much does experience of years in motocross matter in seeking sponsorships? I would say the most important thing when seeking sponsorships is really how you can sell product. And like I said, some of my the best deals that I give people are guys that they're vet sea riders. You know, they're not winning, but they believe in the product and they go out of their way to tell people about it and educate them on the product. So it really isn't, it's not so much experience, it's how you can sell the product is the most important thing. Again, there are people that get sponsored because of results but what that does, when I say results don't sell, they do to an extent because it shows the product works for one. But the other thing that it does is it gives you a better platform. Because of course, if the guy that's winning says that something's working really well, it does probably say, well, hey, it's helping him win. So it is important. So results do matter to an extent, but all it does is really give you a bigger platform. Larry, I'm not personally going to Freestone, but Wyatt will be there. So make sure to stop and see Wyatt. He's pretty awesome, and tell him I sent you and practice what we talked about. Shake some hands. I see Larry at events all the time. Nice to see you here as well. And then again, along with that is, I can tell you that even though Jordan hasn't ridden for me for a couple of years now, I still see him multiple times throughout the week at Loretta's. And he still comes by and says hello and keeps those relationships good and fresh. And, you know, if he ever needed anything, he knows it's a phone call away because he kept that relationship.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Are y'all going to Daytona?
I don't think so. I think I have my race tech center from Florida that will be going. One of them, I think Bex Tech will be at Daytona, I believe, but I'm not positive.
You're not going down to Daytona?
No, I'm not going.
Ah, dang. Shoot. Well,
I'll it's snowy and cold.
I'll definitely stop by the race tech tent if they're there and say hello.
Absolutely. Any other questions?
I like what you said about relationships. I think it's really important because before anything, you know, we're people, and being kind and respectful really does matter. And you know, Paul Theed, the owner of, I apologize, my dog just got back and she's all excited, so you're going to hear her and she's panting. Paul Theed and my husband go back to like 35 years. And it's so cool to actually take this full circle and have you speaking to our school. And, you know, Michael was with Race Tech for many years. So relationships do matter. And what goes out on social media is, as Tasha presented at one of our GNCC races, is your virtual footprint. Anything that you put out on social media, you really do need to know if you erase it, it's never gone. It's always there, and people do look at that now. You know, when adults even apply for positions, bosses look at social media because they want to know what kind of virtual footprint are you putting out there. So I know it's fun, I know it's funny to put things out there, but when you're looking at sponsorship, Chris is absolutely right. You have to start thinking about that.
Absolutely. I can tell you, and on both rider support side, if I see a resume come through, the first thing that I do is I go to the AMA Results Center and look at results. And the second thing I do is I go on social media and look at who they are and look at photos, videos, interactions, how they are as a person. And we actually, not even just on a resume side from there, but actually as for employment and jobs, we do it all the time immediately. So I know people that have gotten positions and not gotten positions based on it, for sure.
Yeah, excellent points. Anybody else? Oh, yeah, thank you. One of our parents is saying that she works in HR. Yes, HR does that all the time, right?
Absolutely. So again, it all goes back to your branding yourself and how you brand yourself, and so yeah, make sure that you're conscious of that for sure.
Well, very good. If we don't have any further questions, I don't know that we do. I just really want to thank you for your time. These monthly webinars that we're holding are really important to our community. We want to be able to bring information that's meaningful, and this is very, something that we could start applying today. And I think it's great.
Absolutely. So I appreciate your time, everybody, and letting me share what I would learn through experience. And I hope to meet a lot of you using some of the stuff that we talked about at Loretta's. Will probably be the next amateur event that I'm at. So definitely come by and say hello and shake my hand and let me know that you watched this. That'd be really cool to hear that feedback.
Yeah, that would be cool. And say hi to Mr. Paul Theed for me, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much.